Everybody doing? Yeah. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Good. Hey, did everybody get a form with a little yellow sticky note? Does everybody have one? Who needs one? You need one? Okay, great. Hey, Tony, can you grab? Oh, yeah. One over there. Okay, so today is going to be interactive. I really want to help you guys get something valued. First of all, before we get started, let's give him another hand. When she asked me to speak, I said, well, I always want to bring value everywhere we go. We're right now here in an environment that is absent of hope. A lot of environments that need, there's businesses that are really struggling right now. You guys agree?
Yeah.
I mean, I the other day I was in Colorado. I run 2 inner circle groups with Brent Gove. And I mean, these guys are titans. Literally, that's their name. You guys are 200, 300, 400 homes a year, and I'm listening to them, and they're needing hope in their work, right? Their income's really decreased. But I'm seeing so much consolidation, both with real estate companies, different industries. I was going into Staples the other day, and I saw like Party City that closed down is now part of Staples. Right? So what's happening right now is that there's so many companies and businesses that are playing to not lose. Anybody guys understand that? There's 2 different ways that we can do business. I dive in. You can play to win, or you can play to not lose. I think the majority of businesses are playing not lose. And here's why I say that. Play and not lose is someone who is consolidating with the hopes of saving profits. They're cutting back on expenses. They're cutting back on staffing. They're cutting back on education. They're cutting back on the support for their employees. And the problem is, you can't grow. Write this down, please. You can't grow when you're playing not lose. You can't grow. You're just going to sustain it. Okay. So today's talk, as you guys saw, the advertisement was the 5 things that people want most. The 5 things that people want most. How many of you in this room have employees that work for you? One. Yeah, of course. How many of you have employees, VAs? Okay, so I'm going to speak to a few of them. Today, I want to speak to the 5 things that people want most as a customer, the 5 things that people want most as an individual, and also as an employee. What I'm hoping today is give you guys some perspective to really help you move the needle in your business, with just getting back to basics. Is that fair? Okay. Yeah. So, and just a little stats for us all to realize how much there's a need for what we're talking about. Okay. Actually, I probably should have said a little bit about myself. I'm so fired up and excited. I just want to jump on the table. So my name is Joey Sartori. I've been in real estate about 23 years. I worked for Nordstrom's department stores for 15. I ran departments. I ran regions, credit department. So there's the authority behind this today is really what can we do to bring them out of a better solution than what they know. I coach and train people both inside and outside of real estate. And that's enough talking about me. I know it sounds like I'm bragging. So the American Satisfaction Index said that in 2025, 77% of people, consumers, experience having a problem with service or product. 77% in the US. Is that crazy or what? 77%. That means only 23% of customers, Kevin, are satisfied. Is that horrible or what? I call it the shoulder shrug. I go into a business, I'm having challenges, and I look at the person behind the counter, and I'm like, you realize what you're doing. You realize this isn't wrong, right? You realize that like you're taking from me, not delivering. You know what they do? They just shrug their shoulders. They just shrug their shoulders. How many of you in this room are experiencing service levels going down? Let me ask that again. How many of you are realizing, are raising your hand and realize that service is really flowing across the board, right? What's happening is it's because they're playing not to lose. If that makes sense, they're taking more from it. Even a lot of real estate companies, instead of like trying to bring more value to their agents, they're taking more money from you, right? So everything rises and falls on leadership. So when you look at what you're doing in your businesses right now, you got to realize that our goal is to really learn how to lead from the front, and how can we give our clients more than they ask, think, or imagine. Write that down. right? We're all God-fearing people. Ephesians 3:20 says that he gives us abundantly and excessively more than what we ask, think, or imagine. That should be our goal. That should be our benchmark. The Gallup study revealed that 31% of employees, 31% of employees are actually engaged at work. 31%. Jim, can you imagine that? You know what that means? 69% are not engaged. Okay, 69%. So, and here's the issue. I really want us to really understand this. The reason why the employees are engaged is because the employees are not a priority. Hey, if you have employees, your employees have to be your number one priority over your customer. Let me tell you why. Because if they're not your number, they're the closest person to your customer. Does that make sense? So if your employees aren't happy, who else is not happy? Your customers. And that's what we're beginning to. That's what we're getting to experience. That's meaning 7 out of 10 people, 7 out of 10 employees are either engaged or actively disengaged. The conference board found that 67% of U.S. workers, 62% of U.S. workers are satisfied in their jobs. I look at that statistic, I'm like, satisfied with your jobs, or have they figured out how to do as little as possible and still keep your job, right? So here's the question. As I continue to move forward, the question is, if 77% of customers experience problems with products and services, right, and only 1 to 3 employees are truly engaged at work, what would happen if we stopped looking at customers and employees as problems? Because that's what companies are looking at. And what if we ask the question, what do people want most? Write this down. What do people want most? Right? If we examine what people want most, we take our business plan, we take our energy, we take our resources to giving people what they want most. That will always move the needle. It's not more strategies. I mean, AI is great. How many of you like AI? Right? I can't call a company anymore without talking to an individual before I get to 3 or 4 robots before I get to that individual. So this is the time, guys, where you can actually continue to pour into the resources to what people want most. Does this make sense? You guys all tracking with me?
Yeah.
Okay. So number one thing I want you to think about on this list. So on this paperwork here, we're gonna start with the blue box, okay? Number one thing people want most. Now this was a survey that was taken over, I want to say it was over 25 years ago. The founder of this program, Judge Boyce, he had a CD duplication company, right? This was back in the days, years ahead. And he was trying to figure out how he could keep his employees engaged because they kept leaving. They kept leaving. So he had a high turnover. And high turnover costs money. So he went in and studied this, and this is what he came out with. Here we are 25, 30 years later, and we're in the same situation. People are talking about the same different things. Okay. Number one thing that people want most is experience. Write that down. Experience. Right? Customers are looking for incredible experiences. Too much of us are so disguised with this idea, oh, I'm afraid that they're going to cut my commission. I'm afraid that they're not going to buy it from me. No, be more focused on the experience that you're giving your customers, right? Customers are looking for incredible experience. So how focused are we with our efforts to create that kind of experience? How focused are we with our efforts, right? I mean, how many of you stay with the Ritz-Carlton? Right? Is that an incredible experience? They talk you into spending $1,500 to $2,000 a night to stay there, right? But do you get an incredible experience? They know you by name. They're there to do whatever they can. I was in Miami for a conference, and we were in one of the cafes, and they had transition food. And my wife and I were looking at it, and we're like, man, I really could do something. I got some chicken wings. I'll figure it out. The guy's like, don't worry. I will get it. He literally got out, went down the street to get what I wanted and brought it back. If we focus on the experiences that our customers have, then the amount of business you get is going to be incredible. Write this down. Love is the number one business strategy. Love is the number one. If you love your customer more than your competition, you will win every time. We're all kingdom people, right? We're all God-fearing people. We want to sit. We're here because we all believe in God. And we're trying to figure out how to take that love for him into the marketplace and to serve incredible amounts of people. Yes, experience is number one. Employees are looking. I'm gonna toggle back and forth. Employees are looking for incredible experiences and workplace. They're looking for fun, enjoyable experiences that they can work with. Right. When I used to train for Nordstrom's, we used to tell everybody all the time, "You're the most important person." We would cherish our employees. When business got bad, we would tell our employees to give more away. We would tell our employees to get a better experience to us, because why? The customer is the reason why we did it, right? And I want to speak to that for a minute, because in real estate, I think a lot of us are confused about what good service is and what's not. Since Kim said there's a lot of real estate agents in here, what is just a quick volunteer? What would you say good services in real estate right now? Let's just speak to that for a minute. What's good service in real estate right now? Nobody plays responses. What's that? Advice, communication. That's good. And then marketing. Okay, good. What else? Follow up. What else? Education. What else would be good service right now?
Understanding the market.
Understanding the market. One more. What's that? Good. Guys, those are all great answers. I don't want to make you wrong. Good. You all have to decide what good service is to you. Can I tell you what it is to me?
Yeah.
To me, it's telling them the truth. To me, it's walking away from the listing if they're not willing to hear the truth. To me, it's if they're not just as committed to sell their home as I am. I took a listing in downtown. I told the guy, "You're going to have to stage it. You're going to have to do a clean out, this, that." After I took the listing, he didn't want to do it. I said, "Buddy, you can have your listing now. I'm not interested." Right? I had, because you notice so many people, what I said, started this whole thing, they're playing to not lose instead of playing to win. Make sense? Yes. So I want you to, before we move on to the next point, I want you to really think about defining experience that your customer is going to expect. And that's going to start out with you saying, what kind of experience would I expect from purchasing something? What kind of experience would I expect from them? If I'm seeking somebody's help, I want them to tell them the truth. If they're going to show me a process, I want them to tell me the truth. I want them to have I want them to know the fact better than anybody else. That's the experience I'm looking at. So start out with you being clear. If you're in real estate, be clear about what kind of experience you want from them. Make sense? Next, number 2 is fulfill the contract. The second most important thing. Number 1 is experience. Number 2 is fulfill the contract. How well are you at fulfilling the contract for your customers? How well? Right? I had a guy that out in Wilton called me up on a piece of property, and he said, "Well, will you help me sell it?" I said, "Well, I got to ask you some questions. I got to get an idea of motivation. I got to figure out why your property has to sell." We did that over, I would say, over 45 days. I told him what he needed to do. We got it all packaged. First day on the market, I have an offer coming in today. Here's why. Because I qualified him. I told him the truth. He was priced at $460,000. We started out at $378,000. That's $80,000 less. I was okay with not taking the list. You know, you told me yesterday before I hit the market, you will leave no lower. That's literally what he said. Why? Because I care so much about him. I'm willing to walk away because my job is to do one thing: give him a great experience and fulfill the contract. Right? And the funny thing was, we were out in the field looking around, and I said, "So how did people go in with you?" They're good. I said, "Is there anything you need? You need some breath or anything?" Good story. He said, "My wife just had surgery on her cervix and cancer." I said, "Do you think that's going to affect the reproductive organs?" So she goes, "Hey, Mike," I said, "You might have very 15 minutes after I got it. I'm in the middle of the field praying for him. Why? Because I'm going to give him more than whatever he asks, thinks, or imagines. I care so much about the experience. So much about the experience. I care about fulfilling the contract and selling the property, but I care about the relationship. And towards the end of this, it's all going to come together for you guys. Okay? Customers are looking for someone who can fulfill the contract, meaning they have a great solution for the problem they're facing. What if we look at our customers as they have a problem and it's our job to find a solution? The problem is we're lazy as human beings, present party included, and we try to solve them. We try to look at every customer We try to solve the problem the same way. That's lazy. Where in the Bible did Jesus solve the same problem the same way? Where did he perform a miracle the same way? Anyone? Right? He never did. You know why? Because he catered his approach to what? To the person we saw. It wasn't just about the miracle, it was to give them a life-changing perspective. What if we focused on the solution and the perspective that we gave our customer? Do you think the internet, do you think these discount brokers could actually get in the middle between us and our customer if that was the kind of service that we were delivering? Make sense? Customers are looking for individuals that will give them more value than the rest of the competition. I wrote Ephesians 3:20, and I tell clients right off the bat, my job is to give you one way of asking for the. What if that's the volume that you measure? As I move forward, I'm going to tell you guys, this will all come together. I promise you. Employees are looking for companies that will help them grow as individuals, right? I don't know about you guys, but I left Nordstrom's because my growing opportunity wasn't there. I was top in California in the restaurant division, and we took these old display windows with the mannequins would be in the windows. And I said, what if you give me another one on the top level? I was doing more volume than normal Starbucks because I was running the coffee division. And he said, no, the door kept getting shut. I kept going like this, so I kept going like this. Later on, I realized that the Lord kept shutting the doors because it was time for me to get promoted. If we want to be promoted in our businesses, the bar needs to be excellence. Because when the Lord can trust you with every customer he puts in front of you, not looking at his dollar signs, you will never have to look for another customer again. When he knows that he can trust you. Does this make sense? Yeah. When he knows that your job and your alternative for fulfilling the contract, there's no other option but to fulfill your contract. Can you tell him a little passionate? I want to touch something. Yeah. So fired up right now. Number 3, rules. Customers want us to follow rules. Okay. Customers are looking for someone who will follow the rules, follow the law, has great morals, integrity, and do the right thing. Now, this is where it becomes biblical. Do not lie, steal, or cheat. No, do not lie, steal, or cheat. It's really important we realize that, like, the honesty of it is important. When I talked to the guy in downtown, he said, here's your listing back. I said, because it sounds like I want to sell you probably more than you. What Joey did. That might be easy for you, but you don't understand. I need the money. If the fact that you need the money is the reason why you need people that are going to allow you to lead them in the process. Does that make sense? They're not going to allow you to lead them. If they want an order taker and you submit and allow them to be order taker, that's why they're cutting your commission. That's why they're shopping you, right? Because you're an order taker. Instead of focusing on the experience, focusing on building the contract and following the rules. Number 4, recognition. Recognition. Customers are looking for recognition. Employees are looking for recognition. So when you're with a client or you're with a customer, whatever business you're in, they want to be recognized as valuable. They want to be recognized as important. They want to be recognized as being heard. Because the more you hear, the more you do a consultative approach to your business, the more you can cater that solution for the problems that they're facing. Does this make sense? Yeah. Right? Employees want to be recognized for their achievements and their efforts. Employees want to feel that their work matters. I thought about that. You said in your phrase, we work with matters, right? Same thing. You are letting them know that when you work with me, check it out. I'm going to deliver service because who you work with now. Right, you have something different than the rest of the competition. Number 5, believe it or not, is money. Number 5 is money. Isn't this crazy? Out of the 5 things that people want most, the last one is money. That's the last one. So if you're constantly getting people asking you to cut your commission, it's because you're failing on the top 4, or you're not communicating it right, or you haven't thought about what kind of experience do I want. Right? How do I fulfill the company? If they're constantly, and I'm speaking to the real estate agents, because there's a lot of people who if you're in another business, you want to be top tier, you want to charge great prices, then you have to invest so much in the experience. That makes sense? Money's last on the list for the reason. If your employees are asking you for more money, it's because you're not giving them experience. You're not giving them opportunities to grow. You're not seeing them as valuable. You know, my wife and I said earlier, we run 2 inner circle groups, and we're always trying to figure out ways to wow these people. I tell my wife all the time, it's all about excellence. It's all that. We're standing at the airport, can't wait for them to come. Get out the flights because we want to deliver excellent. I mean, literally, the masterminds are leading these people speechless. We had a guy that came in that was worth $800 million. Came in and spoke. The majority of his talk was all about humility. And there was majority of his talk. If you know this, he walked through the he walks. It's all he was his it was all about humility. And I'll tell you, read a couple books on humility, how humble right? And it was all about he was his part of it was when you get to the early gates in front of the Lord and you're getting ready to have that conversation. So the question is, are you going to be swarmed by the people that have made an impact on this earth? Are they going to swarm? Are they going to reach out? Hey, look, kids here. You were the one that helped me out. You're the one that took care of me. You're the one that prayed for me. You're the one that was there for me when I went to the Lord. Are you going to get swarmed? That comes from the love of the customer. Because these are all individuals. Now it's every all the time. When you work with me, you're stuck with me for all. I'm still our own, right? I know Sharina, I tell them all the time. It's pretty funny, actually. Oftentimes, customers are willing to pay more for the top 4 things on the list. The reason why the last item is on the list is because that's the least important. I don't know about you guys, but I'm willing to pay more if I'm going to get the experience. Write this down. I'm going to jump in to the last phase of this. In absence of value, money is the most important. In absence of value, money is the most important. Before I move on to the next section, was any of you guys said unclear that you want clarity before I close out with the last section? Was this all clear, or was there any clarity that was needed? Like anything I'm talking about? I know I'm fired up and I'm talking fast. Line. 3. Okay, so number 3 was rules. Number 4 was recognition, and number 5. Now this is where it's fun. Do you see the bottom of that? This little diagram here that starts B, C, C, P, D, and O. Do you guys see that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I want you to think of that as that's a spectrum. So you start from the left and you go to the right. BC, right above BC, right before Christ. Before Christ. So if we take our businesses and we want to impact the kingdom, we want to strengthen the kingdom, we want to equip God's people to finish this race well, to live well, to love well. This is the spectrum. Before Christ, write that down. I see you smiling over there. So glad. CP stands for career private. Career private. Career private is people that have made the declaration that they want to commit their lives to the Lord, and they believe that going to church on Sundays is enough. And that's all they do. They're career privates. And they stay in that position, right? And that's what they do. They go to church, throw their hands up in worship, and that's it. Sunday it is. It starts Sunday, it ends Sunday. Next one, the D is for deployment. That's where you have decided that you were before Christ, you got baptized, you noticed what the Lord was doing in you, you liked what he did in you, then you liked first, because mercy changes what we can do. Then it changes what we want to do, right? So in deployment is where you start to realize what you want to do. You start to realize that you want to surrender your businesses and your lives to advancing the kingdom, right? Because if we're not advancing the kingdom, we're not strengthening the kingdom. What are we doing? Right? Are we going to have that mob of people when we're in front of the Lord saying, man, I remember that guy. I remember that guy, what they did for me. And last one is officers. Officer. Here's the thing. Every single one of your customers that falls in one of these categories, it's your job to move them forward. It's your job. You like them, right? That's the mission. The mission is if they're before Christ, you get an opportunity to see what their needs are, pray for them, and then so that way you can create an invitation. You can have a seat at the table with your transaction so the Lord can show up. I pray all the time with my clients. You know what's exciting about that? Is because when I do that, I know he's involved. All the pressure's on. Whether they're believers or whether they're not believers, not about offending them. It's about what? Giving them more than what they think, ask, or imagine. Okay? Then when you know what you're deployed to do, I'm deployed to encourage. I'm deployed to pray. It was so funny. I was in a mastermind, 29 people. Most of these guys are all millionaires. and we're all sharing our gifts. And my wife comes over to see this, as wives do. And my wife comes over and says, honey, when it's your turn and they ask you what your superpower is, I want you to say prayer. I said, okay. They're like, oh, I run like 700 doors. I build developments. I have this, I have that. I'm like, I'm Joey. My superpower is prayer. But you know what the cool thing about that was? I had 2 chances to pray for 2 non-believers there. And I know what? They're in the BC category, and I'm moving down the spectrum. So what if you looked at all of your customers and you figure out where they're at and you advance them? You just push them a little bit closer. It's not your job to take them from BC to officer, you high decent. Oh, I gotta do it all. No. Your job is just to advance them. And I promise you, you make your business about the Lord's business.
Amen.
And you're looking at that spectrum and you're trying to figure out how to advance things. You will never have to look for another customer. I promise you.
Amen.
You will never. Literally, I was going over this talk, making some notes. I got to the oath. I was telling Tony about the oath in the party. As I'm telling about the oath, Tony, you don't see. You get in the O category.
That's right.
That means you are doing everything in that moment. This lady calls me that's going through divorce. I called her 4 weeks ago, and she went cold on me. She called me to ask me for help. I started laughing. I said, "This is great. The Lord is making this so easy. So when I get a chance to get in front of a group, I can share a testimony with you."
Amen.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's important. It's just want you to look at your business as secondary, and I want you to look at the Lord's business as your primary business. This makes sense. Yes. I've given you guys a lot of information. Here's what I don't want you to do. I don't want you to leave this room with the idea that you have to apply everything that we have. I want to read this quote. I think it's one of the most powerful quotes that man has ever written. And I want you to close your eyes. And when I'm reading this quote, I want you to pay attention to the picture or the phrase or the word that you are called for your next step. Does that make sense? Okay. I'm going to read this quote. So close your eyes. I'll read it to you. And we'll keep. How am I doing on time? Okay, great. Here we go. Everybody got their eyes closed? Okay, perfect. Okay, here it is. Listen. Okay, I want you guys to have your posture as you are wanting to receive something when I give you this quote. You want something. You want the next step to advance your businesses. You want the next step to advance your family, your calling, what it is, your maturity, your walk. You are so desperate at the edge of your seat. You'd rather do this now in this restaurant than wait for life to give you a laptop for you to listen. Does that make sense? Here we go. Until one is committed, there is hesitancy, the chance to draw back concerning all acts of initiative and creation. There is one elementary truth, the ignorance of which kills countless ideas and splendid plans. The moment one definitely commits oneself, providence, God moves. A whole stream of events, issues, raising from one's decision all manner of unforeseen incidences, beatings, and material systems, which no man or woman could dream would come his way. Whatever you can do or dream you can do, begin it now, because boldness, genius, and magic, there's boldness, genius, and magic. Begin it now. Thank you, guys.